Sounds so shit. Do you hate how your music sounds? The reason you hate your music isn't because you suck, even though you might suck. It's for a completely different reason. A lot of artists hate how their music sounds. But here's a mindset shift that will change how you hear your music forever. Before you give up on making music, you have to try this. It changed everything for me. It happens to me quite often, right? Where I'll be making some music. I'll get a thought in my head, right? And this still happens. Still happens to me. It happened a lot more when I was a bit younger. But I'll just get a thought in my head like, nah, like this is shit. Like I'll just be making something and I'm just like, no, like I hate how this sounds. Like I don't like how this sounds. And I just start feeling real bad about it. I'm like, fuck, bro, like my music just like isn't that good. Like I just don't like how my music sounds, you know what I mean? And this is a terrible thought to have while you're actually cooking up, while you're trying to make a song. Cuz obviously you're just going to get like a bunch of negative thoughts that's going to get in the way of the process and actually making music. Even after I've finished a song, even after I've released it, I'll listen back to it. I'll just get thoughts being like, oh fuck, like this just kind of sounds shit. Like I don't like how this sounds. This isn't what I wanted it to be. This isn't what I heard in my head. I'll try and get some music out. I'm like, oh, this sounds bad. When you have those thoughts, it's very easy to just succumb to them and be like, oh fuck, this is shit, and just kind of give up, right? A lot of the time, I would go into a session, go in to make a song, and I'd have a bit of inspiration, and I'd have this kind of somewhat clear image of how I wanted the song to turn out, right? I had kind of a vision of what the song was gonna be like, and I'd be starting to make the music, and what I was making wasn't really living up to that vision. You know what I mean? And that's normally where those thoughts would come from, where it's like, I don't really like how my music sounds, Like, maybe I'm just kind of shit at music, right? Yeah, bro, one of the hardest parts of the journey is just this self-judgment of having to go through these kind of trials and tribulations of just not being that good. You know what I mean? Or not being what you want to be, not having your music sound exactly how you want it to sound. And I think that's where a lot of this actually stems from, is it's not really us hating the sound of our music, hating how our music sounds or disliking it. It's more that it doesn't match our expectations. If we make a song, right, and we have nothing else to compare it to, right? I don't know there's a saying like comparison is the fucking steals your happiness or something, I'll figure out what the quote is and put it up or something, but one of the biggest reasons people will view their music as sounding bad or not sounding how they want it to sound is because they've built up expectations of how it should sound based on comparison, right? Based on listening to someone else's music, even in like another song that you've made, right? So I've had the experience of I've made a song that I was really proud of, and the next few songs just didn't feel like they were living up to the old one, right? So I keep comparing what I'm making now to what I've made in the past, and I'm like, fuck, I don't like how it's sounding right now. I really don't think we can compare art, right? I really don't think that serves us at all. I don't think that's a good idea. I personally think that no art is really above any other art, right? There's no one song that is objectively better, right? Like you might say it is. A lot of people will base how good a song is based off the amount of streams it gets, or based off, how famous it is, how iconic it is. But it really doesn't fucking matter, right? There's so many other factors that will lead up to these external and material things that a song can result in that, people will judge its value off. But really, in my mind, right, and I think it would serve you to have the same belief, is that all songs are equal, right? All pieces of art are just that. They're just pieces of art, right? They're an expression of the artist. They're an expression of the world at that moment. Music, when you make music, it isn't to be good, right? Even though you might think, yeah, I'm trying to make the best song I can, and that's fine. It's fine to want to make good music and want to improve. That's super important. But to judge yourself, right, and to give yourself shit over how the music sounds, it's just not nice. It's not a nice experience. You know what I mean? A lot of people aren't nice to us, so at least be nice to ourselves. You know what I mean? A lot of people will give us shit and hate on us for making this music. At least not hate on your fucking self, bro. You know what I mean? If you're making music, just stop comparing it to other people, right? A lot of the time, I will like an artist a lot, right? I'll be listening to a lot of, like, so, for example, I listen to a lot of The Alchemist, right? It's this hip-hop producer, and recently, even, I've been trying to make music, and I'm like, I get these weird thoughts of, like, no, like, this should be more like The Alchemist. Like, no, I want to make music like The Alchemist, and this isn't that, you know what I mean? I don't like how this sounds. I want it to sound like this, right? We'll have an expectation, we'll have an idea of what good music is, and if our music isn't sounding like that, right? If we're making it and it's going in a different direction, then we almost get frustrated and be like, no, I don't like where this is going. I don't like how it's sounding, right? But that is not the point of music, right? That is not the point of art. That is not the point of self-expression, right? Yeah, all art is just a reflection of us in the present moment. It's a physical manifestation of everything that's going on within our brain, within our subconscious, within our lives. It's just being expressed and put out into a song, right? Put out into a physical thing that you can listen to back. It's so against the point trying to compare your music with other people's and trying to be like, no, this has to be good. What is good music? What is music that sounds good? People have said this to me like, no, that sounds bad. This sounds good. It's all just music. You know, you might like it, you might fuck with it, you might vibe with it, you might not, and that's fine. And it doesn't matter, right? The point of us being musicians and being artists, being music producers, is to produce music, is to make the music. It doesn't really matter how good it is or how someone labels it as, oh, this one's better than this one, or this one is more valuable than, or this one has more streams. It's like, I don't really give a fuck right now, right? All, like, of course I want to see success as an artist. I want to get streams. I want praise from other people. I want fucking fame and shit, right? I'm not gonna lie, I want all that. But in order to get that, all we have to do is just make as much music as possible. Is just produce the music, right? And by having these negative thoughts of, oh no, this sounds shit. I hate how my music sounds. I don't like this. Isn't what I wanted it to be. This doesn't sound like Kanye. This doesn't sound like Travis Scott. This whoever the fuck you want to make music like. You might not make kind of like hip hop or rap, but that's how I kind of got into this. And everyone's just getting type beats from YouTube, right? Or I'm getting a Drake type beat. I'm on a Kendrick Lamar type beat. So they have this kind of subconscious expectation that they're gonna sound something like Drake or something like Travis Scott, whoever they're inspired by. When we have these expectations and we place these expectations on ourselves, of course we're gonna get disappointed, right? If I want to make music like The Alchemist, I'm never gonna be able to do that because I am not The Alchemist. You know what I mean? You can try and replicate someone's style, but I don't even know why you'd want to do that, right? I think what you'll find is when you begin to make that music, let's say you're making a song and you have the expectation of, oh, I want it to sound like this person. You will only disappoint yourself because it will just end up sounding like you. You know what I mean? It's just an unrealistic expectation, which leads to just self-judgment and self-doubt, and that's why people think, oh no, I'm gonna give up. My music doesn't sound good, right? You need to kind of honor your own style, right? That you might not even know your own style yet, right? You might only have a couple songs out. I've put a lot of work in the past couple years of actually just releasing a lot of music, right? I have like 50 songs on Spotify kind of thing right now. And the ability to go back and listen to my own music has actually been quite helpful for me, because instead of me comparing myself to other artists, I can just listen to my own music and be like, okay, this is how Aiden sounds, right? So when I go to make music now, I just think, I'm just gonna sound like me. You know what I mean? Whatever music I make is that's just what I want to sound like. I'm not trying to make a song like this guy or this other guy, or make a song like I did a couple years back I'm just trying to make a song like me right now. That's the goal. And I think that should be our goal as artists, is to I'm just gonna be me. It's authenticity. What happened to authenticity in music and in art? I've been making songs before with these weird expectations. Oh, I want to sound like this guy, or I want to make it like this, and do this, and having those expectations and putting yourself in a box, it's not really enjoyable. At least for me. I mean, maybe you can be like, yeah, yeah, I really like trying to sound like this other person and having negative thoughts in my brain about how shit I am at music. That's not fucking fun for me, right? I want to make music. I want to do this as my career because I enjoy it, right? And if I lose sense of the intrinsic motivation of just enjoying music, right? And if I lose myself in all the external results that I want people to praise me. I want clout. I want fame. I want status. I want girls to like me, right? When I'm focused on all these external things, you lose your element of authenticity because you will just make whatever music you think will bring you those external results, right? The music I make as Aiden Shaw, authentically, it isn't popular music, right? A lot of the time when I'm being authentic, I'll be making a song and it'll be fucking weird, right? Because I'm kind of weird, bro. Like I got, inside my brain, yeah, there's some weird shit going on, right? I'm not like everybody else, right? But I think that's one of the cool things about being an artist is you get out this original concept, this thing that no one else could make. You know what I mean? That's where the value is. This is the paradigm the paradigm, the mindset shift that I want you to have, which has helped me, is that the purpose of you making music isn't to be good or sound good or make music for anybody else, right? It's just about being authentic to you and letting yourself out in the music, right? It's like a release almost. It's like all this shit that's been happening internally. You've been experiencing things in your life. Maybe they're good, maybe you've had good times and you've that's what your brain's been filled with, and other times you have shit things that happen in your life, right? You have painful things that happen in your life. And by us as artists, what we do is we just get it out. We just let it spill out, right? And I think when you place these unattainable expectations of, oh, I want to sound like this, I got to be good, I got to mix my shit really, when you have these expectations, you inhibit your ability to actually allow your shit, your thoughts, your energy to flow out, right? I think of it as like you think of like a hose, like a garden hose, right? When we're allowing creativity to just flow through us and get out into the song, right? That's the goal. That's like a hose that's spraying, right? And when you put yourself in a box, when you pigeonhole yourself, I have to sound like this. No, I have to sound like this thing. You kink the hose, right? When you like kink up a hose and the water stops running? That's what it's like, bro. And that's what I can compare the experience to of making music and then getting those feelings of like, oh no, this is shit. Oh no, like I hate how this sounds. This isn't what I wanted, right? You can't control the direction of the music, right? This seems a bit weird, and you think, no, of course I can. I'm making decisions, but I'm making music, right? I choose to play that thing on the guitar and do that. But the way I'm beginning to view music now, which is allowed far more freedom when I create, is that I listen to the music, and I'm beginning to realize the value of doing what the music tells you to do, right? If you're making a song, it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you want the song to sound like. It only matters what it is, right? You cannot predict what a song is going to sound like until you've already made it, right? I think this is a big mistake I've made, where I have this vision, I have this expectation that it seems really good in my mind. Like, yeah, I'm going to make it like this. I'm going to use this type of sample, and then, yeah, I want drums like this. And then I'm like planning it out in my head before I've even gone into the fucking FL Studio to make the song, right? Don't plan what your music is going to be, right? This has been a big mistake for me, where I have this whole plan set out, like, yeah, I want to make it sound like this and this, and it's all inside my head, and then I have this big, very kind of clear idea of what I want the song to be, and then I begin making it, and it's something completely different, right? And that that to me is what triggers those thoughts of, oh, this sounds shit. Oh, I hate how this sounds, right? So my advice to you would be, don't have these expectations of yourself and of how the art is gonna sound. Don't plan it out. Don't sit there and be like pondering, like like overthinking the shit of like, yeah, I want that type of guitar, and like, yeah, I'm gonna do that effect, and then at the 4 bars, then I'm gonna add a fill, and like, why are you planning the shit out before you've even made it, right? We cannot choose how we want the art to be, right? I said this in a previous video that I was recording, is that we do not choose the art chooses us, right? I know this seems really odd, but we in the modern time will refer to people as creative geniuses, right? Like, you might think like, oh, Kurt Cobain was a creative genius, or Kanye West was a creative genius, or something, right? In ancient times, in ancient Rome and shit like that, instead of referring to people as geniuses, they would say that people have a genius, right? So a genius originally, right, when we think of a creative genius, originally that was actually considered to be a separate entity to ourselves, right? Like a separate, almost like a divine creative spirit, right? That wasn't within us. It's a separate entity, right? And I almost like to visualize this as just like some fucking invisible cloud that's just kind of floating around you. And within that cloud holds all the pieces of art that you could ever make, right? And you don't know what's up there, but the cloud holds within it all the creative energy that's been fucking drawn from all these different sources, and it's floating around your head somewhere, right? And at different times when we get certain inspirations, it's as if the creative genius, right? The divine genius, just think of this cloud, right? This might sound crazy, you might not be following, you might be like, oh, what the fuck, but the creative genius chooses us to create the art that needs to come into the world, right? It's like this divine external spirit entity that's up here, right? It has this crazy plan, and it knows what art needs to be brought into fruition into the world, right? And it isn't up to us to choose that. It's only up to us as artists to deliver that message, to deliver and bring the art into the physical world, right? And we are chosen as vessels, right? This is the ancient beliefs of like Romans and shit, is that creative people, artists, famous painters, all these people, they are only vessels for the creative genius, the divine energy above us, a higher power that we do not understand. It chooses us as the vessel to bring the art into fruition, right? It is not us. It doesn't matter what expectations we have, right? It doesn't matter what specific results that we want to get from posting this song. We might think, oh yeah, once I release this song, then the people from high school will think I'm cool, or then this person will give me some validation, right? If we think of these things, then it kinks the hose, right? It inhibits the flow and doesn't allow us to actually get out the art in its like raw form, in its most purest form that we are meant to, right? I have a book from Rick Rubin, The Creative Act, and I believe in there it says, live your life in service of art, right? We must serve the art. As artists, as musicians, music producers, we're here to serve the divine creative energy that we do not understand, right? We don't need to understand it. We don't need to think of it consciously and be like, oh yeah, so I'm gonna make like, it's telling me to make a song like Drake, and then, oh yeah, I'm gonna use this sound. We don't know until we make it, right? And that brings this element of curiosity and unknowing, which is actually quite refreshing when you're making music. It's fun, right? I've gotten too much in the pattern of thinking of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make a rap song like this person. I'm gonna make a reggae song and do this. It's like when I put these expectations and put myself in a box, music does not seem nearly as fun and mystical as it used to, right? But when you begin to view it as there's a separate divine spirit, this creative genius floating above us, and our job as artists are to serve that, right? And to act as vessels for the art, for the creativity to pass through, right? And that's what a flow state is, right? That's what I would consider a flow state is. It's being in the zone, right? If you don't know what a flow state is, it's being completely focused on the task and almost being immersed within the task and not having thoughts, right? Not having these conscious, like, oh yeah, I want this to sound like this. I'm going to have all these expectations. When you're within a flow state, you're not really thinking. You're not conscious, right? You're just doing. You're just completely immersed in making the music. And this is what we should have as a goal as artists, is to achieve a flow state as often as possible, because it truly is the peak human experience, right? If you think pretty much all our pain as humans originates from our thinking, right? We have negative thoughts, but we'll have thoughts of painful things, you know what I mean? Of ruminating on painful experiences or thoughts of anxiety. All pain is just pretty much negative mental, all mental pain is just all this negative mental health of overthinking. And the peak human experience is to not have any thoughts at all, right? And how do we do that? That's practicing meditation, and that's engaging in a flow state. When you're in a flow state, that's when you make your best music, right? Because you're not enforcing your own judgments and your own expectations on this piece of art, right? It's actually quite egotistical to do that, right? When we have this sense that, oh yeah, we are the creative genius, right? Instead of attributing it to a separate higher power, right? When we like this feeling of importance as humans, and there's another reason we might get into making music, is because we want that importance of being, oh yeah, I'm some genius. I'm a creative. I'm this, creative person that everyone marvels at. Oh, how does he make this cool creative music? How does he do this like sick stuff, right? But that's because when we attribute it to ourselves, it boosts our ego, and we like taking ownership of the art, right? I did this. This originated from my brain. I was in control of this. I was conscious of this. I planned this out. This is how I wanted it to be. That sounds way more cool, and we might get way more kind of short-term respect and praise from other people if we treat it as that, right? But I believe, in truth, every great piece of art has come from a higher power and has passed through us as vessels, right? And when you do that, it really doesn't matter if you hate the sound of your own music, right? When you view it as such, as you being a vessel that the creative energy is passing through, it really doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter how you view the music. Our job is to make it. Our job is to just get it out there into the world. Once the music's out there, once you've released it, then sure, you can, I mean, it's not enjoyable, but you can think, oh, I don't like how this sounds. Fine. But at least you got it out. That's your job. Our job as artists is to just get the music out. I don't believe art or creativity is a conscious, logical, intellectual thing, right? It's more of almost this feminine energy of feeling, right? When I make music, the best songs I've made have been almost entirely like just listening to my gut, you know what I mean? Listening to my own intuition and making decisions based on that, right? Because that's how, yeah. So I'm going to bring this video to a close, but if you don't like the sound of your own music, right? If you hate the sound of your music, all it requires is this mindset shift to realize that your music is what it is, right? Your music is as it's meant to be. If you're making music, it will develop in whichever direction that it wants to, right? It almost seems weird, but pieces of art almost have a mind of their own, and they will go in the direction that they want to, right? And it's up to you to support that in that direction, right? A piece of music will evolve, obviously based on your own taste and based on your own influence. But that is some I would consider influence and taking inspiration from other creators, other artists. That's a completely subconscious process, right? And we don't have to consciously direct that. All we do is just consume the music and listen to the music that we like, and that will influence the music we make. We don't need to do it consciously and logically. You know, for example, being like, oh, I like this song, so I'm going to try and make a song like that, right? Our only job as artists is to support our own creations in whichever way they choose to evolve, right? It's not up to us. You need to use your intuition instead of using this overthinking part of your brain of, oh, no, but I want it to sound like this. Oh, but it sounds shit. Oh, no. Just like quiet down your brain and trust your gut. Do as the music is telling you to do. If the music's going in a direction that you didn't want it to originally, that's the direction it should, right? You can't bend the flow of creativity to serve you, to serve your ego, and to serve the external results that you want to achieve by making this music. It's not up to you. It's up to a divine force of creativity that we do not understand, that we are put here on the earth to serve as artists, right? We must serve that. We must support that. We must support creativity and art in whichever direction it's choosing to flow, in whichever direction it's choosing to evolve. Doesn't matter our expectations. Doesn't matter if you don't like how it sounds, really. It doesn't matter. You will only stop the flow of creativity by having these thoughts and indulging in these thoughts. So what you need to do is view music not as a means to achieving some perfect image, or as a means to being, oh, I'm this cool rock star guy, right? That's not what it's about. Music is about just this creative cycle that we're all living in, that we're all active participants in. Music is only an expression of you and your culture and your mindset, your state of mind at this present moment, right? So just allow it to be what it is. Your music will sound like you. Your music will sound however it wants to sound. And it's there's no point comparing it to other people. There's no point comparing it to anything, right? Your music is what it is. And you have to support your music, right? You have to get it out there. And you will find this deep appreciation for it. Maybe over time, right? Over months. You will find a deep appreciation for how your music sounds, because it is and only is an authentic representation of you. That's all it is. A representation, a reflection of who you are. That's the point. That's the purpose that art serves. If you find this stuff interesting, if you want to learn how to post more music, how to achieve creative freedom, I'm building a course, so just check that out. That's the top link in the description.